The Tallahassee Museum provides historical education and showcases animals native to the Florida Panhandle, like red wolves and the Florida panther. This week, we're featuring a special episode from one of WFSU's other podcasts, Coast to Canopy, where host Rob Diaz de Villegas talks about zoo science with some animal friends and the museum's Susie Buzzo and Shelby Bush.
Starting in 2017, I spent a year filming endangered red wolf puppies as they grew up in the Tallahassee Museum. I typically prefer to record animals in a natural setting, but here's an animal that had long since been declared extinct in the wild. As you might expect, the puppies and their shy parents were the stars of my documentary. The secret stars of my show, however, were the animal staff at the museum. Red wolves raised in captivity might be released into the wild, and I was routinely surprised at how the staff continuously engaged the wolves' animal senses. The more I visited, the more I learned about the practice of zoo science and all that it takes to care for animals as diverse as Florida panthers, bald eagles, and American alligators. Zoo science at the Tallahassee Museum is our topic today. This is Coast to Canopy, an ecology podcast from WFSU Public Media. I'm Rob Diaz de Villegas. Joining us in the studio today, we have Susie Buzzo, the animal curator at the Tallahassee Museum.
Hi, Rob. I'm excited to be here today.
Excited to have you. And we have Shelby Bush, the animal operations supervisor at the museum. How's it going, Shelby?
Great. Thank you so much for having us.
And for those of you watching on our video version of the podcast, we have three guests crawling around the table. Who are these three guests that are crawling all over the table as we talk here?
We have three box turtles.
Frank, Dragonfly, and Princess Buttercup. If you hear her scraping and banging on the table.
I'm looking at them. They're different sizes. They're different patterning on the shelves here. So are we like in different ages, different species?
You know, a lot of the animals we get at the museum come from different places. Every once in a while, some of these turtles, they'll come from someone who had them as a pet and couldn't keep them anymore. The female over there was actually attacked by a dog and has some shell damage that had to be repaired. But there are 4 different species of box turtle, but the ones that we would have around us in Florida are the Gulf Coast, and these are the subspecies of the common box turtle. So it could be the Gulf Coast, the Florida, or the Eastern box turtle. And sometimes there could even be hybrids of the two. So we know we have Eastern box turtles and Florida box, but we're not quite sure about the little guy. He's probably an Eastern box turtle as well.
And he's little, but you were saying, how old is he? Maybe?
He is supposedly around 25 years old. So somebody found him as a baby and kept him. He looks in pretty good condition for most of the ones that we get that are captive kept, but there are some things that are a little bit off with them, a little bit overgrown beak. The nails are a little overgrown. He's very, very tiny, but otherwise, for those of you who can't see, he fits in the palm of my hand, no fingers. So somebody might think that he's a baby as well. So just leave him be if you find him, unless they're injured, and then get him to a rehab, which is what happened with Buttercup. You can see some teeth marks on the front of her shell, and she actually had to have a little bit of a repair under here where things had been chewed up and ripped off.
So quite a lot of the animals at the museum are animals that, I know there's a duck that was shot hunting, and then, there's a lot of other animals that are otherwise injured. Maybe talk about that, just that maybe can't survive in the wild, and so now I like it to be an educational animal for animals of Florida.
Yeah. So most of the animals were either injured as baby or orphaned as babies or injured. They went to wildlife rehabilitators, and then they deemed them non-releasable. So we don't do the rehab ourselves, but if a wildlife rehabilitator calls us and says, we tried and this animal cannot be released, whether it's an eagle and it can't fly well enough to catch prey, or, just whatever reason, blind in one eye or whatever the injury is. So that's when we take them and give them a forever home in a natural setting.
So let's talk about the setting. So first, I was doing some Googling yesterday. At first I was titling this, zoology, but then I started looking at it. And so zoology is this overall study of animals in general, but, we're talking about zoo science, correct? And so talk about that difference and sort of what goes into it. It's a lot more. Once I started working with you guys, it's a lot more than I ever would have thought that it was.
Yeah, well, we do all the care and the husbandry. We do a lot of the medical stuff that we need to do with these animals. So it's not just we come in and we clean up poop and feed. There's so much more that goes into it. We try to give them a good quality of life by enriching their environment. We do training that improves their well-being and their welfare, depending on the species. So, like for instance, we do training with our river otters. So we try to get them to a place where we can do voluntary injections. So we have a tube in the back. We do target training. They're very responsive. They react to it, and it gives them stimulus. It gives them something exciting to do with their day, So there's all sorts of training and enrichment things that we do to just try to improve their quality of life.
Gotcha. And then I guess part of it too is also just the setting they're in. So let's describe for people, as you walk into the animal exhibit, you're walking on these boardwalks and you're basically in a forested setting. Describe some of these enclosures and sort of the setting of where these animals live.
So we display mainly native animals in naturalistic habitats. Literally have just tried to put fences around nature. Some can have trees to climb in. These guys like to dig and bury themselves when it gets cold.
But yeah, we just we use the natural settings of the lake. The deer can swim through parts of Lake Bradford. Some of the other animals have, the lake enclosure as well. The bears can swim in their lake or their pool that was man-made with a waterfall and really, fun and pretty, but it gives them options.
When we have to build a new exhibit, our aviaries were destroyed by a hurricane several years ago, so we had a blank slate to work with, but we try and put in as much of the natural props or exhibit furniture, as some folks will call it, to make it appropriate for their disabilities or injuries, but still to exhibit as many of their natural behaviors as possible. Plants, water, climbing.
Yeah, whatever they need. We try to make sure because it's not the same for every animal. It's not the same what you need for the birds of prey as it is for the foxes or the bobcats. So.
Right. And it changes too, because I guess I've noticed, the lake gets fuller and less full, and there's times where I've gone and it looks really dry, and then there's times where you were talking about the deer, so I've gotten photos of that. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. There's so much water here, and those deer are wading through it. And then also too, I've gone to the res and rented a canoe, and we've gone past the enclosures, and when the water's pretty full, you can get right up to the fence. Where the bears and the cougars are also up to the water there too.
Yeah.
And
the cougars love the water. They right now it's very dry. So, but we call that one cougar Rory our swamp kitty. She loves it.
So you care for a lot of animals of different sizes. We see the box turtles here. You also have panthers and red wolves. I remember one time my family and I were at Swamp Stomp, which is for people at home. It's a concert that's held at the museum every summer. And we saw Shelby. And Shelby, you were showing us bald eagles, and you were also showing us that one of the bald eagles had given you a scar. Is that? So talk about the training you get to deal with these kind of large animals.
Well, we take every precaution that we can, but, things can still happen. Like one of the things I brought here today were some things that we use with the red wolves or other animals. Like I have some big handling gloves. So these would be the type of gloves we would use with the bald eagles if we had to catch them for a procedure or to get weights or anything. So luckily they're really long. And, we would go in with a sheet or a net and these gloves if we have to catch them. When we do the red wolves, we have all sorts of nets and poles and things. And this is actually one of the muzzles that we use with the red wolves. So the red wolves kind of go almost catatonic. They get sleepy or just not sleepy, but they get relaxed when you actually catch them. So we like this muzzle because it actually covers their eyes so they don't have to look at what we're doing. But these type of things make it so we don't have to anesthetize the wolves every time we need to do handling or vaccines or whatever their yearly exams and stuff are.
I think the scar might have actually been from our old vulture Bucket.
Oh, okay.
Who was a staff and visitor favorite. He was a black vulture. Unfortunately, has passed away, but he had been an education animal, but kind of become more mature. And so I used to call it the yin and yang of their behavior. So it just kind of goes with he just turned on a dime one day, and I did something wrong. I don't know what I did, but he decided to bite, and that's why these are wild animals. So as many people think, like, oh, he's so funny, he's so friendly, I really want him, he'd be a great. They are not pets. So we do know that, like she said, we normally take all the precautions. He normally didn't need that with him. He was a very good. Had been an education animal, and but hormones kick in.
Yeah. So let's talk about these turtles a little bit. So you have multiple different types of reptiles, and we'll work our way up to some of the larger animals. But what kind of we used to seeing like the red wolf and all these these really large enclosures. Where do you have all your different turtles in the? Because I've seen there's a few different spots where you have turtles and tortoises at the museum.
Yeah, we've got turtles in a lot of places because a lot of people, if turtles live a very long time, box turtles, they up to 70 years, I think. And so people can have one box turtle as a pet, but not that many people want to keep a box turtle for 70 years. So unfortunately, we get a lot of calls with, I can't keep this turtle anymore. I can't keep this turtle. And, we surely cannot take them all, but we've taken some from people. And so one other problem we have with box turtles is they don't all get along. So we brought these thinking that they would get along well. The two of them actually live together, but the two bigger ones actually live in our small bird of prey aviary with the duck and our screech owls, because there's a pool in there. There's also an injured slider turtle that's in the pond. So that's kind of like a mixed species exhibit that we have with different things. The little guy, Frank, lives in our Discovery Center with another box turtle that was kept as a pet. She definitely couldn't live outside. She needs the proper, they do need proper lighting and everything, but her poor carapace, her shell is so messed up, and her beak is coming, it's just really poor husbandry. So, sometimes we'll take those because we're hoping to slightly correct it. We may never get her looking good, but her shell is all bumpy, and it's just... So he looks pretty good for one that was kept, as a house pet for a long time. But so many that we get and sometimes they don't even make it when, somebody's done poor husbandry. So.
Explain that, husbandry. So I have a picture in my mind what I think it means, but so what's poor husbandry?
Well, husbandry in general is just, all the care that it takes for an animal. Right. So everything that's needed, like for them, it's the proper food, the proper supplements, the lighting, the care, the, how many times you feed them, the temperature, everything involved in that. So
for the reptiles, the temperature, the lighting, the humidity are all incredibly important. The other thing with the box turtles is, since we had said he fits in the palm of my hand, there's a whole lot of animals that could make this a very nice little meal, but a box turtle has a hinged plastron, that's their belly area, so that they can actually close up and protect themselves. So that is one of their defenses, but when they grow improperly because they haven't been cared for quite right or kept in, indoor lighting rather than proper UV lighting, they can't close to protect themselves. With her, she was bitten by the dog, and it actually exposed some area where she could no longer protect her head. Thankfully, one of our vets did a little bit of a repair, a little bit of a prosthetic repair that makes it a little bit better for her to close up. However, their natural range is very specific to them. It's a very small area. We don't know exactly where she had come from. Right. So that's why she stays
we
with
wouldn't want
us.
to just release her once she had a repair to somewhere where we don't know where she actually came from. So,
gotcha. So one of my favorite animals that I see there, and it's hard to see a lot of times, but it's another turtle. It's an alligator snapping turtle. So talk about that little enclosure there. It's kind of hard to miss almost, but you walk on a boardwalk, if you're right off the stage area, right? And then
he's actually moved from there. He got too big.
Oh, wow.
So the alligator snapping turtle actually lives with our alligators now.
Oh, wow.
So he's how many pounds now? I don't know. Close to 60 maybe
Around there.
Yeah, and he's because the other sliders in there were not that big, so he's just too big for that area, so we moved him. But now you can see him a lot better.
Okay, yeah.
He's just a big guy in there with our 4 alligator girls.
Well, let's talk about that. So that's a relatively new exhibit. So you had to design a new exhibit for an animal that needs a lot more water than the other animals. So talk about that whole process. I mean, that was been a big, discussion and a lot of planning to do something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Our old alligator exhibit, used to just have the lake water, and when the lake would come and go, it just wasn't good enough. So they didn't have the proper water that they needed. So when thinking about this, we contacted like zoo architects and zoo designers, and we went and did lots of visits to other alligator places like St. Augustine Alligator Farm. They were really helpful. So we were very lucky to get a grant to help us do that from COCA. And there was tons of keeper involvement in what we wanted and how we wanted it to look, even the plants. So we have pumps and filters and all that stuff that's needed to keep their water quality good. And then we got our 4 young alligator. Well, not too young, but our four alligator girls. So
there's 4 main components that will go into designing a new exhibit. What is good for the animals? What is good for the keepers? What is good for the public, and then the money. So you have that on a scale, and you need to be able to factor all of those things in. So sometimes it might be like, oh, well, why can you see that? Well, that's maybe our safety gate, or we try and hide some of those things as much as possible. Natural exhibit, natural plantings, things like that. It's good for the alligators, hopefully. Sometimes you have to look for the animals. Especially for us, we are in natural habitat. So sometimes foxes like to get up in the trees.
Oh, yeah.
The bobcats like to get up in the trees.
There are always people looking for them. Yeah, there's always a...
Yeah.
Did you see it? Did you see it? Yeah.
So that's some of the fun for the public, to look for them and to find them and engage in that sort of thing. But... So yeah, there's that scale that we always need to work on.
I actually did bring an alligator. Do you want me to pull it out?
Yes, let's take a look.
While we're talking about alligators.
Yeah.
The tour of the studio.
Oh, wow.
So
we were discussing earlier about how old we think this alligator might be.
I believe he's just over 2. So this one actually came from Gatorland. They do a little program with us where they will switch them out as they get too big. So he'll go back and move back there probably this year or next. But he lives in our Discovery Center with another one about his size. And it's not like he's going to stay with us his whole life and eventually go into the alligator habitat, because we don't have the good in-between place. So when he gets too big for the Discovery Center, he'll move on out.
Gotcha. And so how big are the alligators in the exhibit?
You measured them.
So they've grown quite a bit. We need to get another length and weight on them coming up, but they were all around 5.5 to 6 foot when we got them, and now they are all at least 6 to 6.5 foot. So they have grown. They've also gained a good bit of weight. They've filled out, shall we say.
Yes.
But we do training with them, and eventually hoping to be able to get them onto a scale so that we can weigh them regularly. So hopefully this winter, when they're a little calmer, we'll be able to get some of our stuff done, so that in our programs we might be able to measure somebody, weigh somebody for you.
Yeah, during the summer we do alligator feedings. Right now it's cool enough that they're not eating regularly, so we don't do that. But in the summer we do them on Sundays at 2:30. Okay.
So you say they filled out. So where were they before?
They came from St. Augustine Alligator Farm.
Okay.
And they gave us ones that had actually already lived together, and they said it was better to do a same-sex group than mixing the sexes. So we did that, and since they've already all lived together, we were hoping that they wouldn't fight when they got here, or So they've actually done really well together.
One of our adult females was found in the Elkins River in West Virginia, which is not in their territory, not in their home range. So we don't really know how old she is. She was found around this size, around 2 foot or so, and was actually an education animal at another zoo up in West Virginia until she became too big and was sent to where we got our girl from. So now she's back at another facility. So,
But yeah, somebody probably had her when they shouldn't have and just released her out into a territory where she shouldn't have been. But that's another thing maybe why Frank, the little box turtle, is so small, just how he was kept.
So I want to get into enrichment. So I wonder, I guess, is it a lot different for the reptiles than it is for the mammals? I imagine the mammals maybe need more, but that's just me, just my human perspective on things. Do mammals need more enrichment than reptiles?
I feel like we do more enrichment for the mammals than the reptiles. For the reptiles, we try to switch things out in their enclosure or maybe add, they got sensitive smells. So, you could even add a tiny drop of a smell of something. But we can change substrates. We can change, little sticks or props or plants for the reptiles.
Right. So substrates are just what's on the
whether
bottom
it's
of
sand or mulch or, it could be leaves or whatever else we want to add.
Yeah.
But doing those type of things just to their environment is probably what we do most with them.
So this is incredible enrichment for these guys today. We have two who live together, but one, the little one, that they've never met before. And he's never met them. He does live with another little one. It's a new environment. Enrichment is anything that will help bring out a natural behavior. So
does it affect a sense?
Yeah.
So, we have a whole, I know we showed you one of the years when you came out filming, but we have like a whole cabinet full of different spices and smells.
Coyote urine. And different types of urine, red fox, raccoon, that definitely gets a pretty high reaction out of them. All the urines here. Woo!
Shelby's pulling some stuff out. She pulled out some curry powder. Curry powder is one that the panthers always love, and different perfumes. She's got some obsession.
is a very popular one for for large cats, especially. We had one of our former bears loved the stinkiest, nasty, cheapest men's musk you could ever find.
It doesn't have to be the expensive stuff.
No. So
you can listen to the rest of this interview on the Coast to Canopy podcast. You might also want to check out the video version to see the critters Susie and Shelby brought into the studio and others at the Tallahassee Museum, such as my new friend Barkley the Beaver. You can find the video version of Coast to Canopy at wfsu.org/ecologyblog and on the WFSU Ecology YouTube channel.